Alright guys, Darren from Honest Money. Welcome back to another video. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 tips which hopefully you'll find helpful if you are thinking about starting a business. Now these tips are based on my own real world business experience. I've been involved in a number of different businesses over the last 10 to 15 years, and some of the tips I'm going to give you today are based on things that I wish I had known at the start of my journey. So let's jump straight into this video. It's not going to be a massively long video. I'm just going to fire through these 10 tips and hopefully you guys will find them really helpful. So tip 1, and that is that I want you to take it seriously. The number of people that I speak to who have always dreamed about starting their own business, yet somehow always seem to find an excuse, which is usually they don't have enough time or they don't have enough money. So if you're serious about starting your own business, start allocating some time. Either an hour or two per day will add up over the course of a week or many months, and that will give you plenty of time to start work on your business. And also with money, if you don't have enough money to start your business at the moment, start putting money aside, and again, that will add up over time. But unless you take action today and start taking it seriously, you'll never have the time and money you need to actually start that business that you've always dreamed of starting. The next thing I want you to look at is diversifying that income. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, what am I going on about? You haven't even started this business yet. Why should I be worried about diversifying the income? Well, with most businesses, there are opportunities to have multiple income streams from within that business model. If I use web design as an example, and the reason I'm going to use it is I run a web design business for over 10 years, so the experiences that I'm going to share with you are real world. So with my web design business, my primary income was from selling websites. So I'd sell a website for maybe £1,500 or £2,000, and it was always on a project to project basis. So that was one income stream, which was actually selling the website. I then had additional income streams. One of those income streams was ad hoc amendments to the website. So if someone wanted a page updating or a photo changing or something like that, there was the ad hoc income. We then had kind of the recurring payments, which is things such as hosting and SSL certificate renewals and stuff like that. So with any business model, there is usually possibilities for multiple income streams, and I really want you to look at those to try and diversify your income as much as possible. Also, I want you to pay particular attention to the recurring income streams, and this is something I wish that I knew day one. With my web design business, I was too focused on trying to get new customers in and sell websites, whereas actually the real value of selling a website was in the hosting fees. The recurring income of hosting coming in on a monthly or annual basis, depending on the agreement I had with that particular customer, was effectively almost free money, because once the website was up and running and the website was hosting, all I had to do was pay for a server and keep the rest as profit. So always look at your business model, see where the recurring income is, because that is how you build an income, by building multiple income streams within the business and also by focusing on those recurring income streams. The next thing that I want you to remember is that cash flow is king. Now, when I got into business, I was quite naive and I expected people to pay within their payment terms. However, I can assure you that in the small business world in the UK, that is not the case. It is very rare for people to pay on time, and you'll often find yourself chasing payments. So I want you to remember this, that you should have strict payment terms and don't be afraid to enforce them. Now, sometimes you'll find yourself walking that fine line between keeping a repeat customer happy for future work and also trying to chase an invoice for a previous piece of work you have completed. But without strict payment terms and without enforcing those terms, your business will struggle for cash flow. Now with web design, what I used to do, for example, with my project to project work, I would charge a 50% deposit when the contracts were signed and someone wanted me to start the website, and then the other 50% would become due when the website went live. So there was always that incentive for that person to pay the invoices. Now with the ad hoc work, that was where I tended to struggle to get people to pay the invoices on time, because spending a few hours here or there, making some changes and then invoicing for them, it was very difficult to get them to pay anything up front, and then that would usually drag out paying as long as possible. But remember, cash flow is king, and if you do not chase those invoices as much as you should, then you do risk your business getting into trouble because of cash flow. And the last thing that you want to do is have a business that fails due to cash flow issues. Now this next tip may sound a little defeatist, but this isn't how I mean it. What I want you guys to be is realistic about what you're trying to achieve and the budget you have to do that with. To give you an example with the web design business, I once had a client come to me who said they wanted to start a social network similar to Facebook, and they had a budget of £1,000. Now you have to be realistic about the budget that you have and how much you've got to spend on the business you're launching, but also with the business model itself, you don't need to come up with the next great idea. Many successful businesses in this country are built by either copying an existing model or taking an existing model and improving on it slightly. I completely understand the appeal and excitement of trying to come up with the next best-selling mobile app or potentially the next social network. However, the chances of those type of brand new businesses succeeding are very low, and they usually require a huge investment and a huge marketing budget. Instead, what I would recommend is to focus on existing proven business models that work and look how you can add an edge. How can you stand out against other businesses in that arena? And that is what I mean with that advice is I don't want you to try and reinvent the wheel. I want you to be realistic about your budget, and I want you to pick a proven business model that you can add value to and stand out in a crowded marketplace, because pretty much all marketplaces are now crowded. Now on to tip 5, and that is to build relationships. Everyone you meet in business, even if you don't like them, make sure you build a relationship with them. Make sure you keep in touch with them. The amount of business I used to get from a web design business from people that I'd met maybe 1 or 2 years previously, and then they thought about me when it was time to have a website built. Also remember, everyone you meet is either a potential customer or a potential referral, because not everyone is going to buy your product or service. However, they may know someone who is. So it's all about building relationships. Now personally, I'm not a huge fan of going to networking events. However, I do believe in building relationships with other businesses in a normal, natural way. To give an example, with my web design business, it used to be based in a local business centre. There are about 40 to 50 businesses in that business centre, and I used to try and get on with everyone that I saw. If I saw someone in the restaurant or even in the toilet, you strike up a conversation. You never know when that person may become a customer or a referral. So that is one of my biggest tips in business, is to keep in contact with everyone you meet. Don't burn any bridges, because you never know where that next referral may come from. Now this next point is probably super controversial, and I can imagine some of you may disagree with me in the comments, but I don't want you to spend too much time on your branding, your website, or your social media presence unless it is of paramount importance to your business. And the reason I say this, I see far too many people spending lots of time trying to develop a logo or some branding or the right content for their website and for their business model. They aren't actually that important. For example, let's take a tradesman. When was the last time you employed a tradesman based on their logo or their branding? Probably never. You're basing it based on the reviews and referrals. Think about where you can invest time and money wisely. Your business may depend on your website, in which case, of course, spend the time on it. Or your branding might be super important. But generally, your branding will not stop your business being a success as long as it's not terrible. However, if you spend lots of time and lots of money on your branding, that could cause your business to fail. To give you an example, in my last video, I was talking about print-on-demand companies. If you go onto Google now and put in funny t-shirts UK and look at the top 10 businesses that are selling print-on-demand t-shirts, if you look at their logos, most of them are pretty terrible. However, it doesn't seem to have had a detrimental effect on their success, and they seem to be doing well with the fact they're in the top 10 on Google. So keep this in mind. Unless it is really important to your business, your branding, your website, and your social media presence shouldn't take up a huge amount of your time and money. Now moving on to tip 7, and this does contradict my last tip slightly, and is I want you to master online marketing. I want you to think about where your customers' eyes are and get in front of them. If you've got a business-to-business service and your best bet is to be on LinkedIn promoting on there, that's where you need to be. If you're selling to 15-year-old girls, maybe you want to be on TikTok. If you're selling to 30 to 40-year-olds, maybe you want to be advertising on Facebook. But think about where your audience is. And if you can master online marketing and get in front of those people, you'll give your business the best possible chance of success. Okay, so on to tip 8, and I want you to learn the basics of business finances. Now, I know this doesn't sound very exciting. However, if you understand how corporation tax works, if you understand how dividends work, if you understand the best way and the most optimal way to pay yourself, if you understand how VAT works, if you understand what are allowable business expenses, all of those things will give you an advantage and will help you in your day-to-day running of the business and just running your business as efficiently as possible. I also want you to take care of personal finances, and there's one thing in particular that jumps out with personal finances, and that is if you have a mortgage. Now, no one really talks about this, but when you start your own business, if you give up your job and then you want to remortgage, it's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible to, until you've got at least 2 years worth of accounts. And I found this out the hard way. I started a business and then wanted to sell my house and found myself in a very, very difficult situation. So if you're on a mortgage at the moment that needs renewing the next year or two, consider renewing it early, because once you start your own business, most mortgage providers won't lend to you until you've got at least 2 years of accounts. So make sure you take care of your personal finances. The other thing I want you to do is to figure out the bare minimum that you can live off. So think about how much you actually need per month to live. So don't base it on what you currently earn, base it on what you need to live, because that helps reduce the pressure a little bit, because that amount of money you need to make to actually live should be less than whatever your current salary is, and trying to replace that money is an easier objective than trying to replace your entire existing salary. So make sure you take care of your personal finances. If you need to remortgage or refinance anything else before you start your own business, make sure you do that, and make sure you know what the bare minimum is that you can live off of. Now finally, on to tip 10, and that is to have a fallback plan. Now the fallback plan will depend on how risk averse you are. So for me, when I started my very first business, I saved enough to pay myself for 3 months, and I said to myself, if I wasn't making an income at the end of the 3 months, then my fallback plan was to get another job. Now, I wouldn't do that again because I'm in a very different situation in my life at the moment. If I needed to start a business at the moment, I would not want to stop my existing income until the new income had picked up. So for example, if you're employed, you may want to stay employed until the new business is actually making money. So think about what your fallback plan is. Is it savings? Is it keeping your job? Is it getting another job? Have a plan B, have a fallback plan. So if this business does not work out, you know exactly what you're going to do. And finally, I have a bonus tip, and that is for you guys to subscribe to this channel to get lots more business advice in future videos. Also, if you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate if you could scroll down and hit that like button. It does make a big difference. And if you guys are starting your own business at the moment, I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.